Hi there, everyone. I am answering some of your questions today, and I got a great question from Colin, and I have taken a little time to get back to him because I really wanted to have the time to answer the question really fully. It's not an easy, really straightforward answer that I have for this. So Colin's question is about drawing lines. I enjoy the impressionistic results that Pastel brings, but my architectural training keeps asking me to also develop fine lines. This I can only do with pastel pencil, but find that if I try to add, say, fine white lines into color, which is already there, the white will pick up a hint of the color beneath. Thus, white will become bluish or grayish or whatever. How can I get lines of pure color onto an already colored surface? Okay, that is a great question. So really, yes, the pastel is going to pick up the color from beneath, especially if you're using a really fine pastel pencil. Pastel pencils tend to be more transparent. They're made with pastel that is not as soft. It's harder, right? It needs to be harder to be in a pencil form. So it is, in a way, more transparent. So how are you going to get those fine lines? Now, people look at my pastels and may think, oh, well, Marla sharpens her pastels, because some of them are have a really sharp looking point. Well, I don't sharpen my pastels at all. And you might even look at my pastel tray and say, oh, well, she must, because there's so many that look like little bullets. Let me show you. So we're going to look at this, my tray here, and you can see there's a lot of them that have this sharp point to them. It looks like I've sharpened a whole bunch of them, but it's not true. What this is, it's just my particular mark making style. I hold the pastel in a particular way against the paper and use a certain amount of pressure, and so they wind up having a sharp point, many of them, most of them. Okay, if I use them. What we're going to do is we're going to try out a couple different things to see how we can get those fine lines most easily. My particular style of painting, I don't do a lot of detail. The fine lines that you see on my pieces usually are gestural, textural marks, not so much detail. I might do some little marks that are suggesting little flowers or grasses, but usually, I'm not doing detail per se. Okay, so let's try this out, a couple different papers here. A lot of what, Colin, you're talking about is going to depend on the paper you're using. So if I come along here and I've got some pastel color down here, and I try to get this on here, it's I can kind of do it, but I'm going to have a little, yes, I am going to have a little whisper of what's underneath. Now you'll notice, Colin, that I put that pastel down really thinly, and that's going to be your key here, because if I were to press a lot harder, now I've got a lot more product on here, it's going to be harder for me to get this white to really stick out. There's more contrast, so there's all of this is going to come into play. Now let's try it here with a little bit softer pastel. See, this is a new pastel, so it's soft. So now let me try it here. Got to make sure that you really clean off and I can kind of get it on here. Got to use a little bit more pressure. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to use this time, this is a new pastel. This is a white new pastel. This is a little bit, it's a little denser than the pastel pencil. So I can actually come along, and I'm using the edges here. You got to really play with these edges, and I can get little bits. Pretty good. Now I can see here that I'm picking up some of the color. So if you want it to be really opaque, if you want the white to be really opaque, you're gonna have to go to pastel that's really, really opaque. Now look at this guy. It's pretty. This is a pretty beefy pastel. It's really soft. So I believe it's a unison, and it's white. So sometimes the whites are even softer. Now you see, you got to just practice getting that line. You can get those lines. It's a little matter of a touch. But even here, I'm getting a little bit of color underneath there. But it's just a touch. I'm using a little bit more pressure. I can dab these, get a little stippling mark. But so it's really all about the hardness or softness of the pastel that you're using underneath. If you've got a lot of layers of pastel, let me try something else. Let me try this. This is on the terracotta color fix. If I've got a lot of thick pastel, got a lot of, and they're soft. These are really soft pastels. Then when I come back over, it's really, really hard for me to get, see that's not working very well. Even this is still picking up some color. I really have to go to this really soft pastel on top to get it to stand out and really be white. Now again, you're talking about these wanting lines, so it's a sort of a touch thing. You're gonna have to learn to work a stick like this to get your lines. So that being said, let's try the same thing on some other papers, because I'm curious too. All right, so this is pastel matte. So I'm going to come along kind of thin with a new pastel to start. Let's see what I can get. Yeah, I could see that. This is nice because what's really great about pastel matte, it really grabs those marks, and so you can really get this to pop out there. That's pretty good. And then this one's even more. Okay, let's try it with some layers, see what happens. So I'm pressing pretty hard. So this is thick. Now let's see what happens. So yeah, it's just not doing it. So you really have to start thin and plan for the areas where you're going to want that detail over the top, and try to stay as thin as you can for as long as you can in the areas where you want to get detail line over the top, because it is definitely harder if you've got thick, soft pastel underneath. So stay thinner. It didn't matter too much the value. It's more about the softness and how many layers you've got. It's not really about the value, because I could get this white to pop out off of this dark. It's really about the layers here. So let me try this. Let me try to get it to pop out on some dark that's really soft, it's not going to work. See, it's just not. It's not going to pop out enough. There I can kind of get it. I have to really press hard. There's a little more contrast, so I can kind of get it. But I really think that you need to stay thin, stay with the harder pastels, and then get the right tool for making those lines. And it might have to be something that's a little bit more than these guys. And I would suggest the new pastel and learning to work these edges to get the lines you want. And even these guys, just it takes a little practice, but you can get a nice delicate line with these big pastels. You just have to keep working on it. All right, I hope that helps, Colin. Thanks for the question, really good one. Hi there, thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, it helps us out, and click the bell icon to get notifications. We have lots more coming for you.